Question number 1a, we have to identify the common difference, D. Okay, and the arithmetic sequence U10 equals 8, U11 equals 6.5 is given. So if you're used to this type of question, we can identify the D value, common difference value by subtracting U10 from U11, right? But for those who are not used to this formula, I'm going to show you how can we derive this formula here, okay? So U10 is equal to, I'm going to set the arithmetic sequence for U10. So arithmetic sequence, the genetic equation is UN equals U1 plus M minus 1 times D, right? So U10 equals U1 plus 10 minus 1 times D. U11 is equal to U1 plus 11 minus 1 times D. Okay, so UN or U10, you can say U1 plus 9D, and this is equal to 8. Same thing with the U11. We know that U11 is equal to U1 plus 10D and is equal to 6.5. Okay, what we can do is we can subtract U11 from U10. Okay, so in that case, we're doing U10 minus U11, right? So if we do this, we're going to subtract this U1 from this U1, which will cancel off. When we subtract 10D from 9D, we get negative D. Same thing here. When we subtract 6.5 from 8, we get 1.5, right? So D is negative 1.5. Okay, question 1b, I'm going to take one of the arithmetic sequence that I made in 1a. So here I'm going to take U10 equals U1 plus 10 minus 1D, which is also equal to U10 equals U1 plus 9D. Okay, U10 is also equal to 8. So I'm going to put 8 here. Okay, so since we are trying to find U1 and we solve the D as negative 1.5 from question 1a, I'm going to substitute this D value into this equation. Okay, then I get U1 plus 9 times negative 1.5 equals 8. Then I can solve for the U1, right? So if I solve this for U1, I get U1 equals 8 plus 9 times 1.5. So my U1 value is 21.5. Question 1c, I have to find the sum of the first 50 terms of the sequence. Sum, right? So means I can use Sn equals n over 2 to U1 plus m minus 1d formula to solve the answer for this question. Okay, so S50, since we have to find the first sum of the first 50 terms of the sequence, I'm going to do 50 to, I'm just substituting the 50 to m values, right? And the U1 value that we solved is 21.5. The D value is negative 1.5, and these two are from the previous questions. So I do 2 times U1 plus m minus 1 times D. So 50 over 2. 2 times 21.5 plus 50 minus 1 times negative 1.5. So my S50 value is negative 762.5. Question number 2. In an arithmetic sequence, I have a sum of the first 40th term provided here, and then I have sequenced the term value 1 to 6, right? So now I have to find the general term UN. So what this question is asking for is the general term UN. So we want to find U1 and D value to create UN equals A1 plus n minus 1D equation. Okay, so the given informations are S40, U40. Okay, so using S40, let's try to find the U1. Okay, the reason is there are two formulas for the sum, right? So first one is n over 2 2a1 plus n minus 1 times d, and the other formula is u1 plus un. This is another formula that we can use to calculate the sum, right? So since in this case we have the value for the U40 and also for S40, we are going to use this formula here to calculate our U1 value first, and after that we're going to use the sequence formula with the U40 to calculate the D. So S40 equals 40 divided by 2. U1 value is unknown, but we do know that U40 value, right? So we can say S40 is 1900, 40 divided by 2, unknown U1, and U40 value of 106. Okay, so now we're going to solve for our U1 value. So let's rearrange the equation. Then this becomes 1900 equals 20 times U1 plus 106. I'm going to expand. So it becomes 1900 equals 20 U1 plus 2120. Right? Then let's rearrange this equation so we can solve for the U1. Then 20 U1 equals 1900 minus 2120. 20 U1 divided by 20. Negative 220 divided by 20. By doing this, we can solve for the U1 value, which is equal to negative 11. So U1 value is negative 11. We just solved U1 value. Now, what you need to do is we need to figure out the D value, right, to find the general term. So second, we're going to solve for the D using U40. Okay. So the arithmetic sequence formula is UN equals U1 plus n minus 1 times D. The UN value that's given is 106. So U40 equals U1 plus 40 minus 1 times D. The U1 value that we calculated is negative 11. So we're going to say U40 is equal to 106. U1 value is equal to negative 11 plus 39 times D. Okay, now we're going to solve for the D. Okay, so what you can do is we can rearrange this equation, right? So 39D equals 106 plus 11. 39D equals 117, and we divide each side by 39, then we can calculate D as 3. Okay, so we got U1 value and D value. Now it's time to write the generic term. Generic term is UN equals U1 plus M minus 1 times D, right? Calculating the generic term, we don't have to have any number. We don't need to have any number for N as N, right? So we're going to say UN equals U1 value is negative 11 M minus 1 times D value, which is 3. Okay? Then now we can either leave our generic term like this, or we can also expand this part and have it as UN equals negative 14 plus 3n. Okay? Question number 3, we have to expand and evaluate as the sum of the 4 terms, right? So we're going to expand first, and we're going to evaluate. Expand means write this in terms of the equation. Evaluate means identify the final answer. So what you can do is, we do know that the R value needs to be 4, 5, 6, and 7. So we're going to say 4 minus 1 over 2 times 4 plus 4 minus 1 over 2 times 5 plus 4 minus 1 over 2 times 6 plus 4 minus 1 over 2 times 7. Okay? Now we're going to evaluate each term. We just expanded it, right? We just expanded it. Now we're going to evaluate each part. So we get 2 plus 3 over 2 plus 1 plus 1 over 2. So our final answer is 5. Okay? So means you have to change this number to fraction, and we have to add them all together, right? So when you change 2 and 1 to the fraction, you get 4 over 2 plus 3 over 2 plus 2 over 2 plus 1 over 2, which is equal to 10 over 2, which is finally equal to 5. Okay, so you don't, you can skip these two parts for sure, right? But you always need to show this part if the question is asking you to expand something, and the final answer part if it's asking you to evaluate your equations. Okay, so question number 4a. Based on the owner's claim, we have to calculate total attendance for the games at the Peterson United home stadium last year. Okay, so let's look at the owner's claim. Okay, so they played total 25 games, and the average attendance per game was 24,500. Okay, so to calculate the total attendance for the games at Peterson United home stadium last year, what we need to do is we multiply the number of the games with the average attendance per game. Okay, so it's 25 games times average attendance per game. Okay, Then we get the total attendance. As the final value. Question number 4b. The actual total attendance last year was this much. So we have to calculate the percentage error in the owner's claim, right? So percentage error formula is measured minus real over the real value times 100%. Okay, this is the absolute, right? This means absolute, the line to lines. So to calculate the percentage error, we take the measured value minus the real value and divide again with the real value. Then we get the percentage error, which is 0.842%. Okay. Then we have to write our answer in the B in the form of 8 times 10 to the power of k, right? So this is scientific notation. Scientific notation, to have a proper scientific notation, the number part always have to have decimal place after the first number, right? So after first number, it always needs to have a decimal place, and we like to keep it as a three-digit and the number again, right? So we're going to put our value here into this form, okay? So we're going to move the decimal one step back, right? So 8.42 times 10 to -1, because we went backward, we moved to the right, so the exponent gets the negative value. Okay, question 5a. So questions like this, you have to read questions carefully, because the information in the question is actually everything that you need to solve this type of problems, right? So let's read the questions together. So the first part of the question, where it says like Sergey is training to be a weightlifter, and after each lift, the same amount of weight is added to the bar to increase the weight to be lifted. So this part is actually explaining the count that's happening here is arithmetic sequence. Okay, and if you look at the second part of the question, so let's read it together. Sergey's friend Yuri records the weight of each lift. Unfortunately, last Monday, Yuri misplaced all but 2 of the recordings of the Sergey's lift. On that day, Sergey lifted 21 kg on the third lift and 46 kg on the 8th lift. For that day, find how much weight was added after each lift, right? So if we are setting each lift as UN, okay, then the third lift part will be U3. The 8th lift part will be U8. Okay? Then we can say third lift is equal to U3 and is equal to 21. 8th lift is equal to U8 and is equal to 46. And the question is, find how much weight was added each lift, right? So this means we have to find the pattern, means common difference, D. That's what we need to find, okay? So same thing as question number 1. You can solve this any way you want, but according to the question given, you can say u3 is equal to u1 plus 3 minus 1d, and u8 is equal to u1 plus 8 minus 1d. So u1 is, from u3 we know, so u1 plus 2d is equal to 1. For u8, u1 plus 7d is equal to 46. Okay, so by subtraction, we know that 5d is equal to 46 minus 21. Okay, so 5d is equal to 25 and d is equal to 5. (5b) For that day, find the weight of the Sergei's first lift. So first lift means we are trying to find our first term, right? The u1. So same thing with question number 1. We're going to take one of the sequence that we set it up from the question A. Okay, so let's do u3. Okay, u3 is equal to u1 plus 2d, right? And u3 is also equal to 21. Then u1 plus 2 times the d value from the question 1a is 5. Okay, so 21. So u1 plus 10 equals 21, and we're going to solve for the u1. So u1 equals 21 minus 10, which is 11. Okay, so the answer is 11 kilogram. 5c. On that day, Sergei made 12 successive lifts. Find the total combined weight of this lift. So total combined means we have to find the sum, right? And he made 12 successive lifts. So we are trying to add everything up to the 12th term, which is S12, right? So u1 value from the question 5b is 11. The d value from the question 5a is 5. So we're going to go u1 equals d, d equals 5. Okay. For this question, I'm going to use Sn equals n over 2 times 2a1 plus m minus 1 times d. Okay, so S12 equals 12 over 2 times 2 times 11 plus 12 minus 1 times 5. Okay, then is, let's simplify everything. So 2 times 11 is 22. 12 minus 1 is 11. 11 times 5 is 55. So the final answer is 462 kilogram. Question number 6. The coordinates of the point A are 6, -7, and the coordinates of the point B are -6, 2. Point M is the midpoint of the AB and has coordinate of 0, -5 over 2. The 6a, the question 6a, is like we have to find the L1, right? Gradient of the L1. Gradient is M, right? So L1 is the line through A and B. So if I'm putting this into a graph, okay, so let's put this into graph, okay? So I'm I'm going to draw the line here, a line here. Okay, and point A is 6 and negative 7. So this is my point A. Okay, and my point B is negative 6 and a 2. Okay, so this is my point B. The line 1 goes through point A and B. So this is my line 1. Okay, and point AB, its midpoint is this one, 0, negative 5 over 2. Okay, so let's say the gradient of L1 as M1. Okay, then we're going to use the gradient formula. M equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Okay, so the point A is 6, negative 7. Point B is negative 6, 2. I'm going to set this as my x1, y1, x2, y2. So my gradient of the line 1 is m1 and is 2 minus 7 over minus 6 minus 6. Okay, so I get 9 over here and negative 2 as my denominator. Okay, since we can simplify this denominator and numerator with a common factor, right, which is the 3, my final answer will be 3 over negative 4. That's my gradient of the L1. Okay, so then let's go to question 6b. The line L2 is perpendicular to L1 and passes through M, right? So we have to write down the gradient of L2. Let's say gradient L2 is equal to M2. Okay, since line 2 is perpendicular to line 1, we do know that when we multiply the gradient of the L1 with the gradient L2, it will equal to negative 1, right? So we're going to use this formula and solve for the M2 because we calculate the M1 from the previous question. So M2 is equal to negative 1 over M1. Okay, so M2 is equal to negative 1 over 3 over negative 4, which is equal to, I can do fraction over fraction, or you can just take the reciprocal of the gradient M1, right? So the final answer will be 4 over 3. This is the gradient of the line 2. Last question. We have to write down in the form of y equals mx plus c the equation of L2. Okay? So according to question 6b, we do know that the L2 passes through point M, right? So we're going to use the point M to identify the equation of the L2. The gradient of the L2 from the B, question 6b, is equal to 4 over 3. And then the M value is 0, negative 5 over 2. If you look at this point here, the X value given is 0. And then the Y value is negative 5 over 2. This means this Y value is our Y-intercept, right? When x value is equal to 0, we have y-intercept. Because of this, and since this form is the gradient intercept form, the c value is y-intercept, right? So we can say y equals 4 over 3 x minus 5 over 2. Okay? Question number 7a. This is also the type of question that you have to read carefully. Okay? So Thomas is playing with the sticks and he forms the first 3 diagrams of a pattern. So this is pattern. These diagrams are shown below, where each diagram is defined by the number of the sticks. So for example, diagram 1 has the value of 4. So means diagram 1 uses 1, 2, 3, 4 sticks, right? Diagram 2 uses, on top of the diagram 1, we have 4 sticks already, uses extra 1, 2, 3 sticks to create the diagram 2. And for diagram 3, on top of the diagram 1 and diagram 2 that we used already, so 4 and 3, Thomas uses the extra 3 sticks to form a diagram 3. And you can see that there's a pattern, right? So every time he creates the diagram, he uses the extra 3 sticks. So you can see that Thomas, every time Thomas creates the diagrams, he uses the extra 3 sticks, right? So 3 is our pattern. So common difference is 3, right? And then since the first diagram uses the 4 sticks, we can say our first term uses the 4 sticks, or the total 4, right? So, or equals to 4. So let's look at the question together. Thomas continues forming diagram in this way. Diagram n is formed with the 52 sticks. Find the value of n, right? So diagram n, so means we don't know which term it is, right? So it's going to be un, and we do know that it has 52 sticks. So un is equal to 52. We need to identify our n value for this case, okay? From these first 3 diagrams, we identified d is equal to 3, u1 is equal to 4, okay? So you're going to use the arithmetic sequence, un equals u1 plus n minus 1 times d to calculate our unknown value n. un equals u1 4, unknown n minus 1 times d 3, and we do know that this unknown un is equal to 52, okay? So we're going to expand this part first. So we have 4 plus 3n minus 3 equals 52. So 4 negative 3 means 3n plus 1 equals 52. We're going to solve for the n. So we have 3n equals 52 minus 1. 3n equals 51. And n is equal to, we divide each side by 3. So n is equal to 17. (7b) Thomas forms a total of the 24 diagrams. Find the total number of the sticks used by the Thomas for all 24 diagrams. Okay, we do know that u1 is equal to 4, d is equal to 3, and n equals 24. Okay, so because of this, I'm going to use Sn equals n over 2, 2u1 plus m minus 1 times d formula to calculate the total of the 24 diagrams. So M value is 24. 24 divided by 2. U1 value is 4. And M value is 24 again, so 24 minus 1 times D, which is 3. Then I get 12 here. 24 divided by 2 is 12. 2 times 4 is 8. 21 minus 1 is 23. And 23 times 3 is 69. So the final answer is 924. Okay, the total 924 sticks. Question number 8. So we have here line L1, okay, line L1 is here, and it has equation of 2y minus x minus 7 equals 0. Okay, point A has coordinate of 1, 4. So we need to show that A lies on L1, okay? So we have to show A is on L1. That's what it's looking for, okay? So A point is 1, 4. The line 1 equation is 2y minus x minus 7 equals 0. So to show this is on the L1, we just have the best way of solving this type of question is just plug the coordinate into the equation. Okay, that's what you need to do. So 1 is x value, 4 is the y value, right? So we can say 2y minus x minus 7 equals 0. Y is equal to 4. X equals to 1. Okay, 2 times 4 is 8. Minus 1 minus 7 equals 0. When you solve this side, 8 minus 1 minus 7 is equal to 0, right? And is equal to the what's on the right hand side, which is this side. So we can say the left hand side is equal to right hand side, and that's the reason why the A lies on the L1. Okay, so LHS means left hand side, RHS means right hand side. Okay, question 8b. The point C has coordinates 5, 12. M is the midpoint of AC. Find the coordinates of M, right? So midpoint, okay? We have to find the midpoint of the AC. So point C's coordinate is 5, 2. Point A coordinate is 1, 4. So I'm just going to rewrite them here. Okay, and the midpoint formula is x1 plus x2 divided by 2, y1 plus y2 divided by 2, right? So I'm going to say x1 is 1 is x1, y is 4 is y1. So I'm going to say 1 is x1, 4 is y1, 5 is my x2, 12 is my y2, okay? Then the midpoint of AC is equal to 1 plus 5 divided by 2, 4 plus 12 divided by 2, okay? So this part is equal to 6 over 2. This part is equal to 16 over 2, which is equal to 3, 8. Okay, so this is the coordinate of the midpoint of the AC. Question 8c. We need to find the length of the line AC. Okay, the length means here, the length means for these coordinates means we had to find the distance. So distance formula is x2 minus x1 to power of 2 plus y2 minus y1 to power of 2 and square root. Okay, this is the distance formula. So same thing, I'm going to set 8.1, 4 as the x1 and y1, point C as my x2 and y2. Okay, so let's plug these numbers into the formula. So like 5 minus 1 to power of 2 plus 12 minus 4 to power of 2 square root. When you do this, you get 4 to power of 2, 8 to power of 2, okay? Then you get square root 80, okay? Or 240, 220, 210, 205. So you know that there's 4 2's, right? So means it's 4 and 4. So 80 is actually equal to 4 squared times 5. So this equal square root 80 is equal to 4 square root 5. Okay, so you can write any of this as an answer. Okay, question number 80. We have a line 2 that is perpendicular to line AC passing through M, right? Show the equation L2 is 2y plus x minus 19 equals 0. So for this question, you have to use the information perpendicular and the M, the both information to get the full points, okay? So the point A is 1, 4, point C is 5, 12, okay? Line 2 is perpendicular to AC and the point M lies on L2, okay? So if we say gradient of AC as the M1, we can calculate this M1 value by using M equals Y2 minus Y1 over X2 minus X1 formula. So in this case, 1 is our X1, 4 is our Y1, 5 is our X2, 12 is our Y2. Okay, so we do 12 minus 4 over 5 minus 1, which is 8 over 4, and this is equal to 2. Okay, so this is our M1, the gradient of the AC. Then we can find the gradient of the L2. Okay, and let's say this is equal to M2. Since the L2 is perpendicular to AC, we do know that M1 times M2 is equal to -1. So M2 is equal to -1 over M1, which means -1 over 2 is your gradient of the line 2. Okay? Then at this point, you must be asking why we are trying to identify the gradient of the L2, right? So the question is, we have to identify, we need to show that the equation of L2 is 2y plus x minus 19 equals 0. This is a general equation. Okay? To prove this is the equation of the L2, the best way of is like, from these two information, the best way to prove that this is the equation of L2 is because we have a perpendicular concept and the point, if we can come up with a gradient intercept form, which is y equals mx plus b for the line 2, using these two information, then it will be the best way to show that L2 is this, right? Because we can just simply convert this gradient intercept form to the general equation, right? So we now have the gradient m, so we now need to solve the b, right? So to solve the b, we're going to use the point m, which was calculated in the previous question, right? So m is 3.8. So then using m 3.8, we can say y equals mx plus b. M is -1/2, and our y value is 8, x value is 3. So we do 8 equals -1/2, 3 plus b. Okay, then we solve for the b. Then b equals 8 plus 1/2 times 3, which is equal to 8 plus 3/2. 8 is 16/2 plus 3/2, which is 19/2. So b value is 19/2. And that means using these two information, one, the gradient from the perpendicular concept, and the b value using the m, we can say y equals -1/2x plus 19/2. And since this is still in the gradient intercept form, but we need to show that the equation is in general, like 2y plus x minus 19 equals 0, which is the general form. We're going to convert this into the general equation or general form. So to do that, we're going to first multiply everything by 2, which means we get 2y equals -x plus 19. Once you've done this, move everything to the left hand side, so you can get 2y plus x minus 19 equals 0. Since this is equals to this, we have shown that the L2 is 2y plus x minus 19 equals 0. Question 8e, we have to show that we have to calculate the coordinate of the D, and the point D is the intersection of the L1 and L2. So means when you have L1, we have L2, and this intersecting point is the point D. To do this, we're going to use the L2 equation, L2, which is 2y plus x minus 19 equals 0, and the L1 from the equation, the first question. Okay, so L1 is 2y minus x minus 7 equals 0. Okay, we're going to use these two equations. You can solve this equation by substitution, by making everything like y equals something, or you can subtract this one equation from other to solve it, or you can add them together to solve the equation. In this case, I'm going to add these two equations together because I have negative x and positive x. Okay, so when I add these two equations together, I get 2y plus 2y, which is 4y, negative x plus x, which is 0, negative 7 plus negative 19, which is negative 26 equals 0. Okay, that means my y value, I can solve this for y, right? So my y value is 4y equals 26, y equals 26 over 4, which is equal to 30 over 2. 13 over 2, not 30 over 2, which is 13 over 2. Once you've done this, you plug this value back into one of the equations. So in this case, I'm going to substitute this value into my 2y minus x minus 7 equals 0. My y value is 13 over 2 minus x minus 7 equals 0, and which is equal to 13 minus x minus 7 equals 0. Then it is equal to 6 minus x equals 0. So means x value is equal to 6. Okay, so my y value was 13 over 2, my x value was 6. So my point D is 6, 13 over 2.